What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And we're going into the weekend now, guys, and the Giants, they're not playing on Sunday, thank God, so I can finally sit and just watch some Red Zone and enjoy some good football, and not have to worry about my team sending me to misery on another Sunday. Instead, we get Monday Night Football, and it's pretty much just delaying the inevitable misery. This Giants game is against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't think it's going to be a pretty one. Just going to put it flatly, just put it right out there at the beginning of this episode. It's the game preview, and how I'm feeling going into this game. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are an excellent team, and they're going to make things very, very difficult for us on Monday night, especially since they added Russell Wilson to the lineup. Benching Justin Fields was a bold choice for the Steelers, but you know what? Putting Russell Wilson in the lineup, that offense looked good, and this Giants team looks like it's stumbling hard. I'm not feeling too good going into Monday night. But, Alex, how are you feeling going into Monday night? You think that the Giants have a decent chance?
I think the Giants have a decent chance. About as good of a chance as me drinking bleach, probably, yeah. Monday night bleach is the best type of bleach, I'll tell you that right now. Sunday in general tomorrow. Best thing about the Giants being absolutely cooked by week 8, Red Zone is back on the docket for Sundays, my friend. We're watching Red Zone football. No more hyper focus on the Giants losing football games. I mean, they're going to get absolutely wiped against the Steelers. And before I dive into kind of what to expect from this game, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, BetUS. Today, I think I'm going to be taking a little Najee Harris ATD. I know we're Giants fans here, but at least we can capitalize on the Giants being bad and making some freaking dough. Taking Najee Harris plus 100 ATD against the Giants. I think this one's a pretty easy one, to be quite honest. You bet US get 150% match on your first deposit up to $2,000, 125% match on your next two deposit up to $2,000. Really, really good deal there. And to be quite honest with you, Anthony, I think I'm going to take I'm going to put a 50 spot on Najee Harris. That's how confident I am that the Giants are going to let up a lot of points to the Steelers. Like you said, Russell Wilson's been excellent last week. His first game back. They opened up the receiving game. It really did a lot for their run game as well. Harris was running all over the Jets. So, this game is going to be, as usual, can the Giants just keep the ball? Can they maintain possession? Can they do anything with the football? The Steelers have a really good pass rush, a really good secondary, and seemingly they have a good offense now too. TJ Watt is going to eat Jermaine Illuminor alive. Why? Because Jermaine Illuminor is hurt. He has a groin injury. He hasn't practiced in 2 days. The Giants don't even know who their left tackle is going to be. They haven't even decided. We're talking about the decision between Josh Ezeudu, who is horrible. He gave up 2 sacks last week and 3 pressures, or Chris Hubbard, who they signed off the practice squad of the 49ers like a week ago. He doesn't even know the fucking playbook. And they're considering starting him at left tackle. This is where we are as Giants fans. Either you get the worst player on your offensive line to play left tackle, or the guy who hasn't even freaking been on the team for more than a week to play left tackle. This is the usual situation for us Giants fans. Look, they rebuilt the offensive line to a degree, but the fact that we didn't have a swing tackle at our disposal to help fill a position of need is absolutely bewildering. Another example of the poor roster construction from Joe Shane this past offseason. Listen, he plugged a lot of starting positions. The rookie class has been excellent, but that doesn't mean it was perfect. There was a lot of mistakes that he made here. Going out and not getting up a good backup to Daniel Jones. Drew Lock is horrible. The only reason I want him to start is so we don't get screwed by the Daniel Jones injury clause. Tommy DeVito's sitting there in the practice squad right now. Nobody wants him, otherwise they would have signed him off the practice squad. This is the reality right now is the Giants are plugging in guys who have not been on the roster for more than a week. That's the decision right now between Ezeudu and Chris Hubbard, Anthony. How are you feeling about that? It inspires me negative. It's negative inspiration for me. They're going to get absolutely cooked this weekend. The pass rush is going to destroy Daniel Jones. I'm hitting the under on his fucking yards. If you want to put more money on the line against the Giants, under yards, 190 yards passing, there is no shot in hell the Giants are passing for more than 190 yards. They're not even getting rid of the football. Daniel Jones can't throw the freaking football with no time in the pocket. They have no left tackle. Their right tackle's injured. It doesn't get worse from us. It really doesn't. You know what I'm excited for tonight? Miami against Florida State. I'm trying to see some Cam Ward freaking highlights. That's all I'm excited about for today.
In a rivalry game, too, Miami versus Florida State, that should be a really fun one to watch. It's a high-energy and high-intensity moment for Cam Ward. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye on that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. One thing I got to correct you on, though, Alex, Tommy DeVito, He's not on the practice squad. He is on the active roster. You know I got to go to bat, and I got to defend my boy Tommy DeVito. He's on the active roster. And I got to say, if he was on the practice squad, I think somebody would have signed him. He showed that he could win games last year. And that kind of just ties into my argument that I've been making. He's shown that he's capable of managing games and winning football games. He wasn't the reason that the Giants necessarily lost games last year, but in a couple of those wins, he kind of was the reason that they won. So, again, we've had this conversation so many times about Daniel Jones and how he holds back this offense and limits what they can do, and how Brian Dable can't do what he wants to do with the offense. All of those things are absolutely true. And, the more we talk about it, the more true it becomes. And honestly, going into this game, Alex, I have a feeling this is the last start for Daniel Jones. Like, if this gets ugly, it's on primetime. It's a Monday night game. We know Daniel Jones' record on primetime, the 1-14 record. We know his touchdown to interception ratio on primetime. The ratio for interceptions is way higher. We know how poorly he's played on primetime. And then you just stack that up with the fact that the Steelers have the best defense in the NFL, the best pass rush in the NFL. All of this just looks like it's going to culminate in a really ugly performance for Daniel Jones and probably his benching, whether it happens at halftime or to go into the fourth quarter. If you had to bench him going into the fourth quarter last week, if you have to do that again this week, I don't know why you would continue to put him back out there after that. So this feels like one of those games. This really does feel like it's the final nail in the coffin. Unless Daniel Jones shocks us, surprises us, goes into that Monday night game, throws 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, on the road versus Pittsburgh, a great defense. See, you're making all these faces because it ain't going to fucking happen. It's just not going to happen. We all know it. This just feels like he's standing on his last leg. And all that's waiting for his leg to fall and crumble is just a TJ Watt sack. Like, just one thing is going to happen in this game, and then boom, it's the end of the Daniel Jones era is how it feels. Because, again, looking at this game with Pittsburgh, you mentioned that Najee Harris scoring against the New York Giants feels like a great bet because he has just been electric the last few weeks. And it's actually funny, Alex, this is a little off topic, but Najee Harris going into the season, a lot of people were saying that the Steelers should move on from him, that he's not a good running back. Man, he's silencing the critics right now. He is putting up some serious rushing yardage. Some of these rushes that he's had, he's been transforming into Marshawn Lynch on some of these plays. And this is where I'm going to tie it back into the Giants, Alex. Do you think this Giants team that clearly has a few players who lack effort in some of their tackles, arm tackles, and doesn't try to actually bring down the running back, if you don't think Najee Harris is going to run through some of these lackadaisical tackles, you've got another thing coming. He is about to have a huge game against the Giants, I think. And that's not even to criticize the defense, really, because I think the Giants' defense has been great this season. And I don't think that Steelers' offense is all that. But I just think that the problem with this Giants team, the defense can be as good as it is. It can be great. It could be the best in the NFL. But when your offense cannot move the ball and your defense has to spend all of that time on the field and you just can't score touchdowns, it's so deflating as a defense to know that all of your hard work is for naught. So ultimately, I think this is just going to get really ugly on Monday night. I just don't trust this Giants offense going up against this defense. Again, I hope that they surprise me. I hope that they're able to find ways to just get the ball to Malik Neighbors in space, let him carry the offense again like he did in weeks 2, weeks 3. Those games were spectacular performances from Neighbors in particular because Dable did a really good job scheming him open and finding ways to get him the ball. If you could do that this week, sure, maybe Daniel Jones surprises us. Maybe we can get some yardage and some points against the Steelers. But at the end of the day, battered offensive line versus the best pass rush in the NFL, a quarterback who plays poorly under pressure. This game looks like the perfect one to bet against the New York Giants and just say they're going to get smacked.
Yeah, they're going to probably get cooked, guys. I mean, the offensive line's in shambles. The secondary, they still don't. I think Cordell Flott's still, maybe questionable for this game. I know Adoree Jackson's out of this game. I know Brian Burns doesn't have an injury designation, but he's still nursing that groin injury. Dexter Lawrence will play. But then you look on the offensive side, like I said, Jermaine Lamar questionable, expected to play. Look, I mean, the Giants team, they're tired, they're beaten up, they're definitely nursing some injuries across the board. Their quarterback can't do much. He can't throw the deep ball. The Steelers are going to do exactly, kind of what happened to us last week. They're just going to play. The Eagles did to us. They just kept everything in front of them. Force Daniel Jones to read the field. That's all you have to do as a defense. Just force Daniel Jones, take away his first read. He never gets to his second read. When he does, he can throw the ball accurately sometimes, but usually it's not given to hit the freaking open receiver when Malik Neighbors is pointing at him. This is just where we're at as a franchise. We're just waiting out the end of the Daniel Jones saga, the Daniel Jones era, the Daniel Jones experience. And while we wait, it's purgatory. It's waiting for these young guys. But to spin a little silver lining, I'm excited to see some of these younger guys continue to develop, right? You look at Drew Phillips, Tyler Nubin, Tyrone Tracy, get him back involved, please. Malik Neighbors, get these young guys reps, feed them the ball, get them involved, make sure they're playing key components in this offense. I'd even love to see Theo Johnson get more targets. Like, force him targets because he needs the work. He needs the body of work. If you force him those targets, scheme him the ball, you're going to get a lot more value from him next year because he has all this experience now. So they've got to be smart in getting these offensive playmakers involved, starting to define their role on offense. I think Tracy and Theo Johnson specifically, they could have such big role, and obviously Neighbors, but we know what his role is already as that key component, a key receiver. But Theo Johnson, Tyrone Tracy, like, you see other good teams, right? Like, you look at Detroit, how they've deployed Jahmyr Gibbs. You look at other teams and how the Rams deploy Puka Nacua. Like, you see these young players and how they're schemed into the offense. The Giants don't really scheme guys into their offense. They just kind of do random things and they see what happens, right? Like, Puka Nacua, like, what does he do so well? He takes those screens. They get really creative. They open up screens for him, and they let him expose defenses with his abilities in the open field. You look at other players that are dominating, young players around the league. You see that they have built-in plays for them. They have a specific strategy they utilize to maximize their efficiency. Tyrone Tracy, they're just running in the ball, 18, 20 carries. Like, there's nothing special going on here. He's a special receiving talent as a running back. I feel like they could do more with him in that way. I feel like he could be utilized more efficiently. Theo Johnson, attack the seams, be aggressive with him. He's got ridiculous speed. Scheme him the ball in some ways. I feel like sometimes the Giants just, like, they don't really coach to the players. They just kind of hope the players mesh into their system. And it doesn't happen all the time. So I think Neighbors have done a good job getting him open and doing some good stuff with him. But I feel like we just haven't seen them attack the strengths of some individual players, young guys. The rest of the season, what am I really looking for in offense? To define the roles of these young players who are going to play a big role moving forward. On defense, continue to start these young players who are going to develop and be key components, catalysts, stopping the run, stopping in coverage, obviously. Really, really important. Deonte Banks has his hands full with George Pickens this week. Going to be a really, really good game for the defense to kind of test their resiliency coming off a bad game against the Eagles. So, what are you looking forward to? I mean, that's really what I'm most interested in, the youth and defining their roles, setting the standard, and really getting them involved in the scheme here. So in the future, next year when we turn the page, their roles are defined, that it's not randomized like Russian roulette every single week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to see the Giants develop players to play specific positions and lock down those positions. And it's tough because they draft players and then they have to draft over players because those players don't pan out, or maybe those players don't play to the level that you expect them to. It happens, and it happens a lot to the New York Giants, unfortunately. But when I'm looking at this game, what am I excited about? What am I looking forward to? It's going to be the pass rush, and it's not going to be the Steelers' pass rush, taking advantage of a bad Giants offensive line. It's going to be the opposite. I actually think the Giants' pass rush could be a lot of fun to watch in this game. If you look at the Steelers' offensive line, Alex, there's a lot of injuries. Their starting center, the rookie Zach Frazier, he's out of the lineup. I think they have a backup right tackle in the lineup as well, and some of those guys up front are either banged up or playing really poorly this season. So even though the Steelers' offense has looked better, and it definitely looked better with Russell Wilson back there, their offensive line is terrible. This Giants pass rush should get home. And obviously, Kayvon Thibodeau is not in the lineup. That sucks. He'll be back soon enough. But in the meantime, Dexter Lawrence, Defensive Player of the Year campaign, it's continuing. I think he should be able to get another sack, considering he's going to have a backup center to match up against on Monday night. I think you can definitely expect Dexter to apply the pressure, and I think that with the way that this Giants defensive line is constructed, Alex, if the Giants are going to win this game, this is how it's going to happen. It's going to be because Dexter Lawrence is pushing the middle of the pocket. He's pushing the pocket into the face of Russell Wilson, a shorter quarterback who does struggle to see over the line of scrimmage sometimes, and forcing him to break contain and go across the pocket to the right or to the left. And there, waiting for him, Brian Burns or Azeez Ojulari. If the edges can play contain well against Russell Wilson, Dexter Lawrence is the exact perfect counterattack to Russell Wilson as a quarterback. So this is one of those games where if the Giants end up winning, it's only because their pass rush came with their A game, and the game plan got executed properly from those pass rushers. So Dexter Lawrence pushing the interior of the pocket, forcing Russell Wilson to his side, and having those edge rushers contain and just stand there waiting for him. Brian Burns should have a sack. Azeez Ojulari, listen, and this is another thing, Alex, keep an eye on Azeez Ojulari in this game because we are getting very close to the 2024 NFL trade deadline. If Azeez Ojulari has another 2-sack performance on Monday Sunday night, prime time, yeah, the Giants' phones, they're going to be ringing. Joe Shane is going to have some negotiations to make because there are going to be teams that want to trade for Azeez Ojulari if he's able to have another stellar performance on prime time. That'd be his second prime time performance that's really solid in the past 3 weeks. So Ojulari's had some good moments this season, especially with Thibodeau out of the lineup. He's gotten more chances. And now I think, again, on Monday night, because of how bad that Steelers offensive line is, I think Dexter Lawrence is going to have opportunities, Azeez Ojulari, Brian Burns. And obviously, I say keep an eye on Azeez Ojulari. Also keep an eye on Brian Burns, Alex. He was added with an Achilles injury to the injury report this week. I'm not sure if you saw that. We know that he's been dealing with the groin for the last several weeks, playing through that injury, which seems like it's pretty serious. He does look like he's playing through some serious pain. But on top of that, an Achilles injury popped up for him on the lineup. So I'm hoping that it's nothing too serious with the Achilles for Brian Burns. Hopefully just some tendonitis, week-to-week kind of thing. But I am getting worried here that they might be asking Brian Burns to do a little bit too much. Go out there and play injured every single week, and I get it. The Giants are 2-5. They need wins. They need their best players on the field at all times, but at a certain point, you do have to preserve the health of your best players, and the last thing we need is to lose Brian Burns to some sort of season-ending injury because he's playing through something, and then we don't have him for the start of next year. You got to bring that into the equation. You have to think about 2025, and that sucks that you have to do that here. It's not even Halloween. The NFL season isn't even halfway over, but you do have to think about 2025, or at least for the long stretch of the season. I don't want the Giants to run Brian Burns into the ground through the first 8 weeks of the campaign. So I think that's something that they need to be careful about. But again, to answer your question fully, what am I most looking forward to? I want to watch this pass rush just go to work. The one thing, Alex, that we talked about all offseason that we thought could be really good for this team was the pass rush. And I do think that they have delivered. Now, it was a little bit underwhelming for Kayvon Thibodeau, and now he's injured. I'm hoping that he comes back from the injury and plays well. But just generally speaking, the Giants' pass rush and defense has been legit. They do have some tough matchups across the board here in the secondary because there are some talented playmakers in that Steelers wide receiver group, George Pickens being the obvious one. Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, is a really good player as well. But for the Giants' defensive line, great opportunity. Get after the quarterback, force Russell Wilson out of the pocket, get some sacks, control the clock, win the game. That's got to be the game plan.
Yeah, that's all you can hope for is the pass rush steps up. I think that if the Giants lose this game, Brian Burns probably gets a week off, gets 2 weeks off, to heal that groin because the season's over. It's not even worth pushing him beyond that point where it could be more of a serious injury. But I respect him and I appreciate his effort. Right, like we've talked about Deonte Banks' lack of effort. You can't say the same about Brian Burns, man. He's going out there hurt every single week, and he's putting on a show. Like, he's doing it hobbled, and I can respect that. But you're right. Like, this team, they have to execute perfectly to even have a chance in this game. The offense has to perform. Like, they can't do the same thing. The play calling has to be better. Jones has to be significantly better. The receiving core cannot drop the football. They have so many drops. I think they lead the NFL in drops this season. So a lot of things have to go right. They are underdogs by 6.5 points, something like that. Like, they're big underdogs. They've been underdogs for every game for a long time. The Panthers may be the only game where they're slight, have advantage in that one. So I don't know, Anthony. I'm not feeling overly optimistic or overly confident about this one. It's more so just like, all right, like let's see the young guys, let's see what we can do. But we're done with the old tired narratives of can Jones do it? Can he become the guy? It's done. It's dead. It's over. And we'll definitely be back on Tuesday, most likely, freaking out once again and really pissed off and angry and going through the whole. It's just a cycle of madness, and the Giants have trapped us in that cycle. So we hope for better. We expect the least. We are numb anyway, and that's just kind of the reality of being a Giants fan right now.
All of that was aptly put. Like, that was the best way to put that. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're going to watch the game. We're going to be happy to watch the game. Never take a Giants game for granted, I guess. And you're right. I'm definitely looking forward to watching these young players. I can't wait to see Malik Neighbors. Can't wait to see Tyrone Tracy. But, we're at a point where I just don't have a lot of hope for the future of this team right now until they make that one specific change that we didn't talk a ton about in this episode. But if you guys want to hear us talk about the quarterback position, scroll through the recent episodes. We've given our thoughts. So I think it's going to be an ugly one on Monday, like I said. I'm hoping that I'm wrong, guys. Like, seriously, I want the Giants to win this game, turn it around, to get back in the fight. But just it feels like the season is slipping away. It's very unfortunate. And this Monday Night Football matchup is just not a pretty one for the Giants. Just across the board, the way that the Giants stack up with this team, it's not good. And honestly, that's going to be the theme for the rest of the season unless the Giants make a quarterback change. And if Drew Lock steps in and he sparks something, he plays well, okay, great. Then we could talk about maybe picking up some wins down the stretch. But right now, it's just hard to have hope when you don't have any confidence in your offense's ability to move the football and score points. I mean, 10 combined points in the last 2 games. Pathetic. Just an atrocity. So hopefully it's better than we expect. Hopefully the Giants sneak out a win. That would be fantastic. But in the meantime, if you want to play some bets, BetUS, check it out. YouTube 150, use the code. And, of course, stay tuned to more Fireside Giants episodes. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. And comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. Listen on Apple or Spotify. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go Giants.